Hello. So the neighbors are over there. They're putting a rock base over where they're going to build their house. It's a really neat little spot, but they're kind of noisy right now. But I was tempted. We've got some weather coming up, a few nights that might be in the 20s Fahrenheit. And I'm just a little bit concerned that some of my little stuff still growing out here in the garden might not make it through. Plus, you know, we just continue to get a lot of rain and that kind of just rots leaves and stuff like that. So I was kind of half thinking I'd put some plastic over some stuff. So I had 2 beds of kale out here this last season, and one of them was experimental and the other one I had grown before. You know, year after year I've done this Nero di Toscana, or however you pronounce it. It's an Italian kale, but it grows, you know, pretty tall compared to this is Black Magic, which is another different type of Italian kale. And it is a lot shorter, and I've grown it before, so I decided to grow it again. This was something I'd never grown before, which is the Dazzling Blue, and turns out that this grows just as tall as this variety. And then this guy over here is a green kale, and it is very, very short. And the reason I wanted something shorter was because I was thinking about, you know, oh, maybe I'll put a little poly low tunnel over some kale to try and see if I can't keep it for the winter. So the unfortunate thing is, if I want to put plastic over things, because I had that Dazzling Blue in the center there, where I've been kind of cutting that back and eating it, you know, then I would have to run a plastic tunnel all the way for half a bed. So anyway, that's that. So over here, I've got my parsley and leeks. I have a patch of extra Dazzling Blue kale at the end there too. But what I've got here are my leeks and Italian kale and curly parsley. Now, I had a lot of the Italian kale kind of rot and die off, but some of it is surviving. But this curly is just doing a lot better, and it's survived a number of freezes, you know, but we haven't had anything like in the, you know, too much into the 20s. So I don't know, should I just try and save my leeks and maybe that patch of green just right at the edge there? So I made a video last year when I had these really big hoops and I had plastic, and I was trying to, you know, do that with wind blowing it off, and I was just like, forget it, I'm done with poly low tunnels. But now I have these little wires that I used early in the season just for row cover, you know, just for warmth and stuff like that. And so I'm thinking I'll use the same plastic. The plastic, one of the biggest problems is the plastic was just not wide enough. So when I put rocks down on the edges, like the wind would just kind of catch it and blow it. But if I use it that same with the plastic, with those little wire hoops, then there'll be much more purchase on the edges for the rocks to hold it down. So it might actually work better. And plus, it's just so much easier to use those little wire hoops. They don't go over 2 beds, they just go over 1 bed. So you know what, I think rather than make this into a big production, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the wire and just try and protect the leeks and that little patch of green, and so that I'm not going to make this into more of a project than it needs to be. This is the conduit that I bent, you know, that goes over 2 beds, that I thought was a pain in the ass. And these are the little wire hoops. So I'm going to use these little guys, poke them in the ground. put them really close together, that's probably a foot or less than a foot. Just because I've got a bunch of them and I'm only trying to, you know, cover a small portion of the bed. So let's just cut it. Okay, so I'm just gonna get some rocks and pin the edges down. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pin this in first because I have to watch out for the parsley. I pulled some of the Italian parsley out, so I have some room here. And I think what I'm gonna do is twirl it under. Is that what we're gonna do? Oh my God. Ow. Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? Alright, so what we're gonna do is twirl this like this. Okay. Okay, right? Is that all neat and tidy? Oh my gosh. Oh, shoot. Let's see how we're gonna do this. I mean, what you want to do, right, is twirl it under. Is that going to be enough? Just 2 turns like that? Oh my God. Oh, shoot. Well, that got 3 turns. Okay, this is going to be just a little bit of a production, right? Can we turn this the 3rd time? Okay. I think that if we had a windstorm, it would just rip this thing right off, but I just don't want to really fiddle with it anymore. The only thing that's a big pain in the ass is that it's so hard to get into these things. Okay, so there's my little buddy over there, and I am so tempted to not do anything with this kale and not fiddle with it at all, but I think, you know, if everything had been all together at the end, it would have been so much easier to deal. But I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just let those guys sit out in the weather. I'm gonna cut these last 4 for me to eat of the dazzling blue, and I'm just gonna take the time to go ahead and put some plastic on these little green guys. I'm just gonna do it. Okie dokie, so we got the hoops on. Oakley dokley, so I got my little tunnel all fixed over there. Okay, so it's getting close to dark. I ended up, went and pulled the little pieces of cardboard up to check for slugs, but I didn't see any. Just a couple over by the parsley. So I left the Black Magic patch there, and then I went ahead and pulled out or cut back a bunch of the kale and put them in a bag to freeze, and grabbed a few more for eating fresh. Hi. So this is the bag that I have that I'm gonna freeze, and I'm not gonna do anything to these. I'm just gonna throw them in the freezer and see what happens. 5 bunches to freeze, and then I've got 5 bunches here of fresh that I'm just gonna leave in a box and put in the fridge. We have had a little bit of wind, but my tunnels are still holding up pretty good. I came out here to get some leeks for pasta night. Okay, so I pushed that rock in, and then I moved this rock, pinning this area down so then I can get to the leeks. It'll be interesting when there is a bunch of snow and ice on the ground. So I got my little pile of leeks here. Some of them, you know, are pretty skinny, but they're leeks. It's 4:30. It looks like it's midnight, but it's not. Hello. The forecast has been upgraded so that we're not supposed to have like such cold weather. Maybe just dipping just below freezing. But I am glad to get my little covers over the leeks and the kale just to keep the rain off. I've decided I usually drive down to the grocery store these days because I go about maybe once a week, and because then I can get a big old load of stuff. But I just need to check to see if there's any vegan butter in town, so that I can make this pie for Thanksgiving. Otherwise I need to order it. We don't have much dairy alternatives, but they've been getting a whole lot more stuff recently, so I'm gonna walk down there. This is the neighbor's progress here. We got a rock foundation going on, and we made a whole lot more noise when we were building our house. I came home empty-handed. All they really had were like this kind of spread type butter things. And I need like a bar, because what I do is I freeze the bar and then I shred it into the pie crust. So, which makes it flaky, you know. But I have to order, I can get non-dairy vegan butter from Full Circle Farm. Eventually I like to do a crust without any butter, and I have some ideas for how to do that. But anyway, home. I'll see you guys next week.